Madam, please begin.
Sure, sir.
So, give us just 2 minutes. We'll start.
Yeah, Dean, sir. Fine. Absolutely.
Hello, Disha madam.
Yes, sir. The Dean, sir, is having some technical glitch. He's joining in just
Madam,
2
we are live. Continue.
Yes, yes, yeah. A very happy morning, everyone. I, Disha Pandey, Assistant Professor, Parul Institute of Law. Wholeheartedly welcome you all to this panel discussion on the topic role of women in academic leadership. Today we have amongst us our esteemed guests, Professor Dr. Nuzhat Parveen Khan, Dean School of Law, Bennett University, Professor Dr. Shashikala Gurukul, Director SLS Pune, Dean Faculty of Law, Symbiosis International, Deemed University, Professor Dr. Namita Singh Malik, Dean School of Law, Galgotias University, Professor Dr. P. Lakshmi, Dean UWSL, Karnavati University. It is indeed our pleasure to have our panelists on board today. We welcome all of you. I would request our Dean, sir, Director, Parul Institute of Law, Dr. Akhil Ali Sayyed, to please welcome our guests. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Sorry for the late, and I just took 1 more minute to change the name. Actually, I could see everywhere in Sandeka Batas. I really wondered. Anyway, a very good morning to one and all, ma'am, Honorable Professor Dr. Nuzhat Parveen, ma'am, my other colleague, ma'am, Malik, ma'am from Galgochia, Shashikala, ma'am from my teacher, I would say, that I have attended her some of the session at GNLU as a research scholar, and P. Lakshmi, ma'am, I think she is supposed to join. She will be joining. It's a really a wonderful galaxy of the stars here today. Ms. Disha has created on the virtual platform of Parul University. First of all, I thank and congratulate Disha for getting all these renowned professors and academic leaders on this particular platform. And at the same time, I also welcome and thank my all respected ma'ams here, because I know as a dean, you will be definitely busy in your daily course at the university, but you are kind enough to spare your valuable time and be here for us. I asked Disha that why me? He said, forget about your name and gender. You are a teen, so I am inviting you. Rather, this is the platform for women. So I'll not take much time. Ma'am, it's our private university established in 2015, and since then we have tried our best to make this university a better place for not only education but also for working. And that is how I really take a pride that nearly 70% of my staff, at least in Faculty of Law, is a female teacher. So that you could see the influence here in the Faculty of Law also. And that's all. I will not say much on this platform. At least I once again, on my personal behalf, on behalf of Parul Institute of Law and Faculty of Law, Parul University, cordially invite, welcome you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind support in organizing this event. Now, before we begin with the panel discussion, I would briefly like to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker for today is Professor Dr. Nusrat Parveen Khan. Ma'am has done her graduation and master's from Aligarh Muslim University. She completed her PhD from Jamia Millia Islamia University, Delhi. Ma'am has more than 30 years of academic experience at Jamia Millia Islamia University. She has authored numerous books on conflicting contemporary legal issues. She has to her credit several publications in reputed journals. Her PhD was awarded publication grant by Indian Council for Social Sciences Research, Ministry of HRD. She's also a member of various governing bodies of several leading universities. We wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Disha.
Yes, ma'am. Our second speaker for today is Dr. Mrs. Shashikala Gurpul. Ma'am has completed her studies from Mangalore University. She holds a PhD in international law and has also received a gold medal in LLM. Ma'am has several national and international publications to her credit and is also a recipient of several distinct honors and awards. Recently, ma'am has been bestowed with the distinguished honor of Jean Monnet Chair on Climate Change Law and Policy. We congratulate you for that, ma'am. Ma'am was a member of Law Commission of India, is currently a member of Curriculum Development Committee, Bar Council of India, and Academic Council of National Judicial Academy, Bhopal. She is also a part of advisory and governing councils of various law schools. Ma'am is a pioneer of EU legal studies in India and has been united to be a member of the International Advisory Board of the Centre for Common Law in Europe, UCD, Sutherland School, Ireland, for 3 years. We feel proud to have you as a panelist, ma'am. Welcome.
My name is Ambika, and I'm assistant professor at Parul University of Law. And I would be glad to introduce you with the rest of the two panelists. We have with us Professor Dr. Namita Singh Malik, who is currently the Dean at School of Law, Galgotia University, and she has more than 14 years of professional experience in legal field. She possesses rich experience pertaining to academics and administration-related work and has been awarded twice by the university for performance in academic and administrative work. She has also been awarded with Academic Excellence Award 2020-2021 in 4th National Symposium and Award Ceremony organized by Droit Penal Group in collaboration with University of Allahabad. She has presented papers in numerous international and national conferences and has authored a book titled Under the Shadow of Section 377, Socio-Legal Aspect of Homosexuality in India. Ma'am has delivered lectures and talks as a resource person in several conferences, panel discussions, etc. And ma'am is currently also the legal counsel for legal awareness sector for Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She's also a member of Global Alliance for Justice Education. We are glad to have you, ma'am, and it's our privilege to have you on board. Our fourth speaker for today is Dr. P. Lakshmi, who is a passionate teacher with over a decade experience in academic and administration. She started her teaching career in Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur, and continued her service with ITM University, SGT University, Gurgaon. She headed the law school of Ansal University and GD Goenka University before joining the Karnavati University. She was also professor and head of PGDM and PGP chair at Adani Institute of Infrastructure. She honed her law teaching and research skills by actively participating in training programs conducted by experts from Cardiff Law School, University of Hampshire, School of Law, National University of Singapore, and Indian Ministry of Human Resource Development. She obtained the doctorate degree in law for exemplary work on the Interreligious Marriage and Conflict of Law, and Analytical Study. Her thesis was also awarded by university as the best thesis of the year. She has received the Academic Excellence Award for the year 2018 by the Legal Desire. We are privileged to have you, ma'am, and we are privileged to have all four of you as our panelists. I humbly request Nushrat ma'am to please initiate the panel discussion by briefly sharing with her journey over as an academic leader.
Before ma'am starts, I would also like to welcome Dr. Professor Debabrati Haldar, who is Professor, Parul Institute of Law, to this discussion. We welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, we would initiate this panel discussion where you can first share your journeys and also your views on the topic. We would start with you, Nushrat ma'am. Please, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. First of all, I must congratulate Parul Institute of Law for keeping a topic which is really requiring attention. And okay, International Women's Day is gone, but that could have been a further a perfect day to have a discussion on this topic, women in leadership or women in academic leadership. But anyways, it's a good topic because other day when I was speaking for 4 or 5 forums on that day, so this Jagran Lake City University had one of the discussion on this topic and I was part of it along with some Jindal Global University professors. Yeah, so thank you very much, Professor Dr. Akil Sayyed, a director and dean of Parul Institute of Law, my dear and what's her name, Namita. She is one of the dear person. We meet each other very frequently because our universities are very close to each other right now. Even otherwise, while I was in Jamia, she was very much with me in interaction. Professor Lakshmi, then she's the dean from Karnavati University. Professor Shashikala ma'am, director, Symbiosis Law School, Pune. And of course, I have seen Debabrati also. Me and Debabrati, I think, probably met on some platform. I don't know whether she remember or not. At NCW platform also we met, Debabrati, if you remember.
Yes, of course, madam. Yes, madam. NCW platform, we have met several times.
Yeah, and that was your topic actually. I was not cyber laws, isn't it?
Yes.
But I was one of the panelists, yeah. So, yeah, so I mean, when we talk on these topics, and we are many here, and as Professor Syed says, galaxy of stars. So that is happening actually. There are many women today. We see there are vice chancellors, and the number is increasing every day. I mean, while I was in Jamia, our vice chancellor, she was the first women vice chancellor of a central university. But in the meantime, we have seen JNU have a vice chancellor who is women, Allahabad University have vice chancellor women, Meerut University have vice chancellor, and many more. I mean, I cannot name all of them. Now, talking of me and talking of, all the women who are here, I understand maybe few of us maybe having a very good background in the terms of education, in the term of finances, in the terms of the location where they were sitting, where they were, because that also matters in your education. Because while I will be sharing my experience in a very short time, that was also a material point. And then, of course, the patriarchy of the system. All of us who belongs to this age group or some people senior to us. So these are few factors which matter. Sometimes even if you are from a very good family in terms of, other factors, maybe financial, maybe economics and social, but then also keeping in view the general patriarchal system. It is boys who go to the higher education. Girls, even if they study up to a particular point of time. Then sometimes even if parents are interested, but the location you are in, you don't have that facility of, I mean, I'm talking of some 45, 50 years back time. So our journey. So for me, actually, there were few things, though I belong to a middle class family, but my father was a very, very, broad-minded and forward-looking person. So education that way was not a barrier for me, but it was a barrier in the sense that I used to live in a mohalla whereby there was no girl who was going to the college, up to school studied, but the moment it came to the college in the city, in that city to which I belong, in UP, there was one girls' college only that was located around, in that small city, it was the ultimate end. Even if it was 4 or 5 kilometers, but that was the ultimate end and a very, area which is very scanty population. And also, I think very few girls were the students in that college. It was a small college and few girls from maybe further, they may be higher families or so, or maybe looking nearby. And then patriarchal mindset, पढ़ना ही कहाँ है, कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, ठीक है. But my father, I was lucky enough, he sent me to that school, though there was no, commutation means. My mamu, my uncle, he used to go to drop me every day to the school. Anyway, I did class 10, but when it came to 12, my aspiration was to become a doctor. And there was no science in that college. Up to 10th, you have to study, but 12th class, then you have to opt for the stream. So the barrier was, but that became a boon for me. Because of that, my father had to send me to Lucknow for further studies, to take science, because that was not available in my town. So I went to Lucknow. And you understand, Lucknow still being the capital of UP, was having good colleges, was having girls into education. So that was not a problem. So I studied class 12 science. Then, in our times, there was no 5-year law. I also want to share with this younger generation, Disha, Ambika and all. You people must be thinking it's only, 5-year law is existing from time immemorial. No, while I was a student way back in 80s, I think it was an NLU who started at the end point of, 80s sometime. But we were the student at the beginning of 80s of law. But before that, while I was a student in school, it was in 70s. So I was studying science and I wanted to be a doctor. So after 12, I took admission in BSc. In Lucknow University, one of the college, famous college, Isabella Thoburn, IT college. If some of you is from UP, you must have heard that was a prestigious college and it was a name. If a girl is studying in that college, it means something. So I was fortunate enough to be in that college to do my BSc. And in the duration, I appeared for medical services, but unfortunately, I could not qualify for MBBS. I was getting the second rank, that was a dentistry, BDS, which I was not settling with, and this happened twice. So immediately after, but I don't want to do MSc and go for traditional. So I took admission in law. And while I was doing law, I realized that there were only 3 girls in my class, a section of 300 boys, 2-3 section, there 300 boys, only 3 girls. And you won't believe that in the next year, while we were in the second year, there was no girl who was admitted. So that was the scan, that was the quantity, if you'll say. And again, the same background or same reason. And I was further coming from a Muslim family. So you understand the ratio, again, the population quantum, if you take the ratio, then you take the backwardness level, then you take, many other factors. So it was a rare thing, a girl in law was there. And so while I was in the final year, I cleared judicial services. And for a short period of time, I joined also, but that was the point of time I got married, came to Delhi, and it was that I will qualify Delhi Judicial Services. So here I joined Bar, some advocate initially at Tisari, then some Supreme Court of India. I was with one very famous lawyer. I was practicing for around 1 year. And in the meantime, I got married and all that family procedure. But Jamia was near to my house. Again, I'll say my course of journey to this position, there were many barriers. I have to go to DU, even if I was selected in the first instance, maybe I could have again deferred due to some family reasons. Maybe I'll join after 5 years or so. But to be everywhere at a younger age was one of the reasons. God also, put faith in me and gave me opportunities. So this Jamia was very close to my house. I joined as a lecturer, temporary part-time, or you will say guest. They used to call it part-time at that time as a lecturer, with a full intention. I will never remain in law academics. Either I'll go for a lucrative practice or I will be in judiciary, right? But again, destiny have something else for you and you have to accept that. I did that. I keep on teaching. In the meantime, there was a selection committee, and you guys will not believe, I didn't turn up for the selection committee till the end of the day. I was living in a vicinity. It was going on since morning. I was one of the applicants, but I was expecting my second child, my son, who is now in Washington, DC, working with Washington Post. So I just said, I will not go. I will not go because I don't have to be this. Teaching as a part-time is something which I'm doing just to pass my time. But then my sister-in-law, she asked me, no, you should at least face the selection committee. Let's see the result, because there are 150 candidates and there are only 3 posts. So not necessarily you are going to be selected. But again, see, the result was I was selected in the selection committee on the top rank. So which means there were indications that I have to join the academia. I mean, these are also some indications. And maybe willingly or unwillingly, I joined that, lecturership. We used to call it lecturer at that time. And then the second level was reader, and then used to be professor. These nomenclature actually happened later sometime and end of 90s, this new UGC norms and all. So when I joined as a teacher, then of course I have to be NET, I have to have some publications, I have to have a PhD. Again, I was very unwilling for that, but willingly or unwillingly, I did my PhD. But when I enrolled, I just submitted in, less than 2 years, in fact, and got awarded in 2.5 years. And the work was later awarded by Ministry of HRD. It was on air pollution, actually. Okay, and regarding the area of women and child, this is my love from my LLM time. I did my lots of work. My, LLM dissertation was then, it was way back in 1986, I was doing LLM, and Juvenile Justice Act came while I was in the first year, 86, 87 batch. So my mentor, Professor Zakaria Siddiqui, again, many people may be knowing him. He was a contemporary of Professor Lotika Sarkar, whose name I'll be talking about in my later lecture. He, got me introduced with her to discuss the topic, my points, and then I did my work on child abuse and child rights at that point of time. And I worked an empirical study in the lock industry, which is located in Aligarh, keeping in the limits of my universe of the dissertation. So, and my examiner was Professor Lotika Sarkar at that, and she was, if we talk of legal fraternity, she was the first woman who took as a Delhi University professor, studying in Cambridge University, and then being the head, and then talking lots of women's education and rights. So how once I, involved into education, then there was no looking back. I kept on writing, being part of the different forums of academia. And then I think at the end of my 40s itself, I became the dean of the School of Faculty of Law, Jamia Millia Islamia. There we called faculty in the Central University. So I became dean at a very young age at the Faculty of Law, Jamia Millia Islamia. And while I was a dean, I got many opportunities. In fact, before that itself, that was a time probably lots of gender equality was happening, many women. So I understand, except Vice Chancellor of Jamia, there's no other post which I have not held in Jamia, be it the provost of the university, be it the proctorial department, be it the student welfare departments, or be it the chairperson of the sexual harassment committee. I mean, it's almost every post, every position, and lots of work which I have, which gave me exposure and experience being in Jamia, Central University. And then I'm a very restless person. So after my deanship got over, I thought of just being, encountering how the corporate work, how the private universities work, how the institutions which are now, and privates are also doing wonderfully well. So how I took this decision of joining Bennett University. And to all, I want to just last sentence, want to inform you, many people understand I'm retired and I'm at Bennett University, but to your astonishment, I'm still 9 more years to go to Jamia. I'll go back to Jamia and I will be in maybe again, I'll go for another assignment, but I have to take leave from Jamia. Jamia is still my home. I have more things in Jamia for me than at any other place, a big chamber with lots of books, and even the infrastructure and the staff of Jamia is at my toes even today. Anything, I mean, they are so much of help because I live nearby. And otherwise also, during my tenure, I started 5 new courses. And when we say new courses, we give rise to lots of employment, which I did. So right now, at that time we were having, for example, 7-8 people who were the infrastructure of the dean's office, 1 LDC clerk, 1 computer data operator, 1 assistant registrar, or 2 peon. Now, because, or maybe in the library, there are 4 or 5 people, but because I started 5 new courses, I gave employment to people. For example, 3 more peons were added, 2-3 more people to the office as LDC or UDC clerk have been added, 1 more data entry operator, 2 more librarian clerks. So they all, they feel humbled, but I say, God gave me that opportunity, that I created all that employment and further employment for many more teachers as compared to the strength of what we had at that point of time. So ultimately, I'll say the time actually, while we are progressing, we are moving into the next generation, next step. From a time when my time, girls, there used to be 1 girl or no girl in the law classroom, except medical. I think medical was a profession where there used to be many girls. Engineering and law were But today we see equal number in our classroom. I mean, all of us witness, all of us are law professors who are here. We witness there are equal number of girls who are getting admission, and sometimes they are even more than the boys. So that is a development. Once they are into admission, when they are into course, so they are definitely going on to be equal number as judges, equal number as professors, equal number in any other profession or any other field of the profession. So how this journey is slow and gradual. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing such an inspiring journey, especially for us juniors who look up to seniors like you, and we have a lot of things to learn from you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would now request Shashikala ma'am to please proceed. Ma'am, are you there? Shashikala ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Good morning, one and all. Professor Saeed and team and all the respected co-panelists. It was such a delight to listen to Professor Nuzad. Now, in the background of that, we understand many things. Madam has narrated her own journey, which is a very authentic narrative, and also has highlights of how patriarchy was underwriting her choices, and at the same time, how she had to overcome those impeding factors. And she took inspiration from mentors, particularly Lotika Sarkar and others, and then how she shaped the course of legal education in whatever opportunity she got as a leader. Now, in the background of that, I would like to share my presentation. This presentation can be taken as a kind of structured view, because I feel when we look at women, although the feminist methodology approves of narrative, many a times our narratives are undermined as a subjective narration. We need to put it in the context of leadership theories, in the context of statistics, and in a scientific framework. So I made a little attempt, humble attempt to do that. So permit me to share this presentation, if it's okay. Can you see there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, good. So let me take you all through this little journey, which I call as the role of women in academic leadership, particularly in shaping the legal education system in India. So first of all, let's look at the story which was narrated already. What do we understand from these stories? The first thing we understand is there's an approach which needs to be looked at, women's leadership approach, which is less hierarchical and non-autocratic. I wouldn't say only women, even enlightened men. And I would put the peripheral dwellers like us, in minority, in Dalits, in transgenders also, to some extent share this model of leadership, a humble model of leadership, which is non-hierarchical, non-autocratic, very democratic and participatory, and continuing with others, taking others along, perceptive of the emotional clues, and the model of not an authority figure, but as a coach, as a teacher, as a mentor, and it is a transformational leadership. There's a very interesting study which is published in Nebraska Journal by Redding, in which he cites all the existing leadership studies, and I summarized some parts of it. There's a great saying or understanding going around that men always, other than their mother, first fall in love with their teacher. So teacher is the one who is an epitome of love, and teacher was always synonymous with woman. So imagine that teacher fixation in the mind of men, becoming a leadership figure and causing the transformation. So if you want to shape the course of education, put more women in leadership. That's my tagline, because it is going to transform. This is my experience. Last 15 years in Symbiosis, the way the law school was when I took over, except the very first principal who was a lady for 2 years, then it was all male leadership, and I came in because at the top level in our management, there was a change of leadership or a shaping of second line leadership in Dr. Vidya, a gynecologist and a powerful woman, influential woman. And Dr. Muzumdar's scientist background leading to a very rational choice of putting women deans across many faculties and institutions. Symbiosis productivity grew by 200 to 300%, and in the law school 400%. Now that is, if you want corporate figures in the realistic world, because I personally believe unless you make impact in the realistic world, the stories and idealisms are not going to make us look serious. We have to be tough. So my advantage came from the background of taking a corporate leadership role in the Middle East, which was offered to me much longer, but my passion for education did not allow me to go. But because of some personal circumstance, I had to shift my son out of India for 2 years. So that's how I took up that role. And there I learned how to create an activity which results in outcome and productivity. So I married the idealism of education and my own passion for education with my undiscovered strength for leadership, which this corporate CEO identified in a public function. And all my life, I was a leader from childhood itself, which I never realized. And most women are. And we don't see our multiple roles in the family and the strengths these multiple roles bring to us as entrepreneurial strengths and skills. And our unique strength, which has still not found expression in the mainstream politics in India, which is a strength which I told you, less hierarchical, non-autocratic, invisible, or being humble, low-key, following emotion clues, and less violence. Women leadership and war has seldom been there. And destructiveness is the last option women take. So there is a lot of narrative going around about Putin and his initiative. And if it was a woman leader, what would have happened? Germany had many chances, but how was a woman chancellor in Germany? So this is exactly where women's approach to leadership has been transformational, and higher education has experienced it to some degree, but there's a long unfinished agenda, and particularly in legal education. Now, why do women not realize these possibilities? World over, this possibility has been realized in last 1 century. Many CEOs have been women. Why didn't we do that? And in vice presidentship in many universities, presidentship, women are being co-opted, or women have risen to those ranks. Why isn't it happening in India? Now, India has always been a country which is proud of saying that my family culture is important, marriage is a holy institution, etc., etc. Now, can this be harmonized, or is it standing as a kind of inhibitive factor? Now, I think these things exist. They are as old as hills, all the values. But women's own self-perception, in my opinion, which is at the crux or the core of vulnerability, is inhibiting from such leadership roles, particularly in the academic leadership. Studies have shown that. And this is the result of self-confidence. And self-confidence lacking in women is the result of the cultural self-trapping, which comes from, as Madam already said, the patriarchal background, the male-dominated society, and you live there. Your entire neural network, the brain process, is conditioned by that. So 3 key factors lead to women becoming invisible in the work. Look at the work scenario in general and academic work. Work scenario in general in South Asia is having women to the extent of 4 to 5% only in profitable, gainful employment. Most of it goes to making home, or wherever women have to work because of being single parents, which percentage is large, then it is in struggling, in juggling the two. So gender division of labor. How many of us, I mean, we may say we are in leadership role, but do we negotiate our position? Do we know that our male counterparts, especially in private universities, negotiate their pay structures better? And male is still viewed as profitable in education sector because they can give more time. He has somebody else to make home. Woman has to go and make home for them also and for her also. So these kinds of gender division of labor, private and public sector. Secondly, development opportunities, including career opportunities, are biased. I'll show you that in lawyering profession in general, it is there, and in academic profession, there's no exception. I personally made many interventions. Fortunately, I had a panel. I was a minority in the law commission. I was a minority in selection panels many a times. And I used to talk in such a way that they felt their conscience stirred and they would be on my side. Of course, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of self-expression, and also belief in what you're talking. Transition of education to remote learning is another area which has, in a way, affected disproportionate impact on women working in the academia. Imagine the COVID-19 period. So academic participation at once upon a time, every parent wanted the daughter to be either a doctor or a teacher because it was very close to the stereotype of gender. And they believed that being a teacher, you'll have vacation, you'll be with children, there won't be any man leching at you, and you can be having better work-life balance, etc. But women have been struggling with these also. The social construction of gender as a cultural construct has resulted in a kind of hierarchy. It has preserved it as a social hierarchy and power, and therefore women are always pushed to the low ranking positions or they don't progress into the high ranking position. And India has a very dismal figure. Even in the latest gender gap index, look at our rank, 140 by 156. Numbers are higher means it is a great scene, but not in ranking. When will we come to 2 figure and 1 figure? I'm waiting for that. In my lifetime, whether I'll see, I don't know. Now, coming to the advantages, why women should be in leadership, I go further. Leadership is a relationship. And when women are influencers, they can effectively lead other women. This is our assumption. And most of the cases it happens. Conscientized women do that. But if those women came by wooing the patriarchy or appeasing the patriarchy, this may not yield result. But at the end of the day, a woman definitely feels comfortable in sisterhood. So even the woman who is the tokenism of patriarchy, who has come because of her father or her mentor or her husband, still has got comfort zone with women. Therefore, to some extent, it will happen even with all women, but conscientized women. For example, someone like me who has been through the feminist movement, grassroots movement, coming from a matriarchal family, I believe in the power of women and I trust them. And in the landscape of Pune, which is known for women's education centuries ago, this is a very natural phenomenon, whether it is ILS Law College or Symbiosis Law School. Therefore, women lead other women to connect, to share knowledge, convey confidence, to stretch, to support, to encourage. We stretch the idiomatic expressions of rules and regulations to accommodate other women, to encourage them, to build them in leadership roles in second line. It's all male creation that women are jealous. I mean, Shakespeare writing centuries ago, women, jealousy thy other name, or frailty. So we should stop looking at ourselves from these dominant views of patriarchy, and we should discover who we are. Deep down, we are very happy with our sisters, with our mothers, and with the female companionship. So this is something to be discovered because we know that companionship with men also, men who are conscientized is equally or maybe more comfortable, but that percentage is very low, especially in our country. That's why our gap is very high. Now, with that, if we go to the dynamic of women leading women in the higher education, there is a pulling people forward, influencing, constantly learning. So this is how women describe their experience. Nusrat Madam described just now how she was pulled forward and she pulled other people forward. She's a woman of influence from public sector to private sector. And then she is constantly learning. My experience is like that. I don't want to spend time on my first person narrative. You can watch my many stories on YouTube, I'm sure. But what I want to do in this panel is giving a context and a framework of thought process to contextualize these great women's experience who are sharing the panel with me. One, that one of the barriers for us to take up senior academic leadership. I remember when I came to Symbiosis Law School in 2007, I was 41-year-old and I was asked, 41, 42, I was asked, so we have our parties, so we have our meetings in Delhi. Who will come with you? Your son is only 11-year-old. I said, why do I need anyone to come with me? All my life, I have been a lawyer. I have been to the courts and it's a male world. In my law school, as ma'am said, I had only 8 men in a class of 300. I have braved, I have determined who the next president should be in the law school by campaigning for them. Why will I be scared? In my home, I led the whole management of litigation, family properties, got them economic stability and put them in the right perspective. So I have been a thought leader. Why should I be needing a male company to connect to any situation? So this oddity of a woman being alone and being an assertive person may be taken normal in corporates, because most of our corporates are determined by global policies, which are very much gender neutral and merit oriented. But in India, still, if you're sari clad or suit clad is making a lot of difference in traditional bastions like education or legal world. So support from family, family responsibility, kids, elderly responsibility or caring roles within the family, traveling alone, as I told you, support services in daycare center, transportation facility, relocation to another place and safety. So these are all the barriers, and lack of encouragement from society or colleagues. I sometimes wonder, if there was a man in my position, if I was a man, instead of this sari, if I was in suit, I would naturally expect in the evening to go home and have a warm cup of coffee. I'm not sure in Lakshmi's house, she's married to a very progressive man, Mr. Shantakumar, who comes from Vice Chancellor Shantakumar, who comes from a very, very progressive NGO and Tamil background. I think for her, he will make a cup of coffee. I mean, these privileges are not there for most of us. So I don't have a man in the house who will take care of me. Till my mother and brothers, all of us were living together, we used to share these joys. So when we go to higher academic leadership or higher roles in leadership, these sacrifices, I mean, I'm still experiencing that, what you call it dilemma, or you can call it as a kind of, you miss that, the pleasure of such company. But then it is your sacrifice for 2,000 students, for thousands of students, for thousands of those lawyers you have influenced, who tomorrow will rescript the judiciary, rescript justice for the country. That, I think it's worth that. It's worth that. And nobody can do that as good as a woman can do, because she knows that her every moment is a moment of sacrifice. But don't sacrifice it for a few, adjust it to sacrifice for the many. Now, social stigma and beliefs against women, triple burden of women in terms of family, work, and society, transparency in selection procedure. Nobody tells you why you were not selected. Definitely they didn't select because you were young, you were yet to be married, or you were already married and just married and you don't have children, you may give birth to children. See the subtle bias that operates many times. Nobody tells you why you were not selected. They even said she appears aggressive, an aggressive woman, what Deborah Road calls as subtle sexism. So these kinds of biases, and then a woman is expected to twice hard as man if she wants to grow in the ladder. This is proven in studies in the American context, and Rainmaker study in India on legal profession has highlighted this as well. And if she does a lot of work, there is no appreciation. If she's a loud woman who is performing so well, her loudness is cared. In the sense, you have to make a choice between being liked and being efficient. An efficient woman need not be liked because they consider her as a mutant, in genetics, we use the word mutant. Somebody who is hatke in English, Hindi language. Somebody who is extraordinary and not so palatable to the normal expectations of a woman. She has to be like Aristotle's, silence as glory, tenderness in or frailty as Shakespeare's. And the minute she becomes a Durga or a Kali, she is scared of. The power in a woman is something is taken not as something to be loved. Very, very enlightened people will say that in Kali's smile, they see enormous universal love. So this kind of attitude and inability to digest powerful women is also a byproduct of an ignorance that pervades in the society. So women have still shaped higher education. So if you look at the higher education figures, status of enrollment, look at female enrollment, share of population is 49.8, but then enrollment is 47.6, and enrollment of women, females teaching staff is 42.2, and non-teaching staff is 32.9. Figures are slowly closing in. But then if you look at women as SC women, ST women, people with disabilities, Muslim and other minorities, the figure is not that great. Therefore, if their numbers are so small, imagine the number of women in those communities. So we can't see gender inequality only as men and women. We have to see them in the compounding factors of Dalit and others and all other kinds of vulnerabilities in the society. Let me take you through another statistics, which is Maya and others have highlighted in one of the Sage Journal articles. In higher education, whether women are ready to take administrative positions. Look at the figures here. 2015-16, we had 6 vice chancellors, 0%. it goes to 0%, I mean, negligible percentage. By 2016-17, it rose to 9 and it became 22%. Then it is 11 and then 18%, and now again it's 15%. So somehow two-number figure has come. That may be because private universities are more liberal, and public universities, women cannot do lobbying. They cannot please the higher officers, take them to clubs and have drinks with them. So all these kinds of things matter, you know. And then directors, if you see, there is a bigger percentage. They haven't put deans though. Pro vice chancellors, very small percentage, because most vice chancellors do not want to have a female vice chancellor, female pro vice chancellor. They say, I'm not comfortable. What is this comfortable? I mean, what is this comfortable level? If you have processes, procedures, and all other figures also, if you see, female percentage is higher in senior scale teachers, in lecturers, or total. So the lower the rung, higher the percentage. This is similar to if you look at export promotion zones or special economic zones. Ladies are larger in number in the worker class, and in the leadership class, very small percentage. So against the tide we have swum, whether it is me or Lakshmi or Debarati or it is the case of Nuzhat ma'am. So I have another study. I mean, I will tell you certain stories quickly. I have 5 more minutes left, I know. So if you look at female leadership in academia, and particularly in legal academia, what we see is women's research output was impacted because of the lockdown. Because they did not know how to sequence. Most of my lady colleagues told me that they wouldn't sleep before 2 o'clock in the night. Because the bhai wouldn't come or the support system wouldn't be there because of lockdown, and the classes would go on, and they had to sequence their classes, mind their kids' homework, their schooling, and husband's needs. So it wasn't easy. All these days they would leave home quickly doing it and then sequence it in the evening. They would sleep latest by 11 o'clock, and then it went to 2, 3 in the morning, and next day again get ready for early morning schools of children online. So this was terrible. And then I would like to say in legal arena, what I have seen and experienced during interview, there's a lot of bias. I will give you 2 examples. One bias was when we saw a girl who was from a tribal background with not much of English language, who cried during the interview saying, I never got opportunity. So panelists, Vice Chancellor was a very, very kind man from National Law School. So he said that if any one of you, we were 3 women in the panel, if any one of you wants to take responsibility against this reservation class, there are no other candidates, then I don't mind appointing. So I took the responsibility. We brought her, we mentored her. She became a different standard altogether. If you were to scale her as 2, on 10 on the day she arrived, she became 7 on the scale of 10 after 1 month of mentoring. So this is one. Second bias I saw was there was a lady who was the only candidate sitting with the rules of merit for deanship. And then the discussion was that she had a gap of 4 years. She had taken voluntary retirement. Who knows why a woman in her 40s takes voluntary retirement? Maybe she lost her mother who was supporting her child's education, making her home. Maybe she's separated. Or maybe she's undergoing some kind of health issue. That's why she took a voluntary retirement. Should that become a stigma for her next innings in her career? Do we ask similar questions for men? We don't. So what is happening to your marriage? So always asking these questions. Are you getting married? Are you single? Because we want to know, would you be likely to move? Would you follow your husband, or would your husband follow you? There may be indirect tapping to know if you're a divorcee as well, you know, because you don't disclose it. So these are the kind of biases in interview. When a woman sits on the panel, a woman who is enlightened will never ask this question. She would rather say, I'll support you in your struggle. Whereas a woman who is not enlightened will play second fiddle to the unenlightened crowd there. So women becoming women's barrier is one thing. So I'm suggesting certain solutions and strategies. Second is, a woman needs to sequence her career with her family burden and the glass ceiling. The girls who move out of law school, 60% meritorious girls from my law school, when I see their visibility in the profession, it dwindles in next 5 years because she goes family way. She has to sequence. And when you see the law firm leadership, judiciary, senior advocates on the Supreme Court, or legal professions, we have a huge deficit in associate professor and professor rank because of this. And that deficit, that is why it is reflected in the statistics that at professor and associate professor level, percentage of women dwindles. Now, stories of young and middle-aged women that we saw, which I told you. Now, time consuming and double workload during the lockdown. So the adjustments were constantly changing. And women's choices were not automatic choices. They were compelled choices because maternity leave conditions now, thanks to MHRD being strict with the Modi government, there have been a lot of changes in the administration's attitude. Otherwise, they are always worried about this. And then the selection process, and then the mentoring is not provided when she comes back after maternity leave. Her absenteeism is constantly cribbed upon. They don't believe that she's contributing it to the next generation. And then facilitation. Now, I have had stories of contesting family battles and things like that, whom I supported. Case-to-case basis, we had to intervene, we had to support, we had to facilitate their transfer to sister institution, and we had to stand by them for legal aid. We have done that. So it may look very unprofessional, but I think when it comes to women's stories, personal is professional. That is it. So how many of we have that attitude, you know, so that this woman who is hurt today converts that pain to become more and more conscientized and becomes a power symbol tomorrow, where the pain converts into power. So if you look at the factors in access to leadership in education and legal education leadership, there are many thematic areas. What causes the decrease of their access, or why is there an inadequate recognition of their contribution? What undermines their job satisfaction, their stature, their career trajectories? I told you, if there is a man in my position, how they would have viewed. I mean, because I have a loud mouth, everybody recognizes me. So what are the leadership attributes and how women's attributes are recognized as leadership attributes? Very interesting conclusions we can draw. If you look at powerful women like Latika Sarkar, Ved Kumari, or Vasudha Dagamwar, or Nuzhat Madam, what you would see is that there were socioeconomic opportunities, progressive womanly men in leadership. For example, I was picked up from a small city by Dr. Menon, who came from matriarchal background, who encouraged women. Sometimes I did see patriarchal streaks in him. We differed also, their students also differed. But Sir saw a leader at that time. So those men's contribution is immense to shape women's leadership in the early stages. And then for women, once they're put in the leadership, because their husband is influential, father is influential, or somebody they had as a mentor, retaining and progressing and negotiating the reality. It wasn't easy for me in National Law School. I was the first woman to get a tenured position as a law teacher in the National Law School. There were history teachers, criminology teachers, but it wasn't easy. I faced a lot of hostility. What Verma called as hostility in Vishaka Guideline, it came much later. Vishaka Guideline came in 1997. I was in the National Law School in 1995. I found a lot of liberty in the Irish man I met, and I married him and I went. And I learned a lot, came back to India to translate it in our country. Till today, my struggle goes on, and I have succeeded at least in a microcosmic world of symbiosis, because there was a conducive leadership there, openness there, and support there. So being in academics and shaping academics, two different things. Being a leader and shaping the academics in law, and we need to study this. What is the role and impact on them as well as law school? How did it impact their lives? How did law school get impacted? How many of us have swallowed humiliation without a reason because we don't have a protective shadow of a man? How many of us have been excluded, patronized? And some of us are there, but we are only a token female and we don't give voice to female needs. And the subtle sexism, being good and being liked. So many women who have been working with me, they don't want to do things because they don't want to be looked at tough, don't want to be looked at unbeautiful. This is the word I have discovered, because a woman who is straightforward is not considered as likable and lovable. So we need to have, first of all, as a strategy to enhance female leadership and female participation, let's do a gender audit of all law schools. I tell the panel here and the leadership here, let's write to Bar Council of India. Bar Council needs to balance itself first. We have never had in the history of Bar Council of India a woman leader. Uttar Pradesh, by default, one leader Miss Yadav emerged and she was shot dead. I don't know how many of you read this news item. Dr. Ambedkar said, which we need to remind to Bar Council, the yardstick of a society's progress, I would convert it as organization's progress, is the length that women have traveled in that organization. And we need to have law school audits. Recently, Dr. Rai from Orissa National Law School wrote a beautiful piece in a law teachers forum, where she talked about her own struggle as a single unmarried professor. And more narratives of such women's battle needs to be recorded. Today we had these narratives, we are going to have. Now another is impact analysis, family-friendly work system. How far we have incorporated. Many law schools didn't have a decent toilet for women. And women's body needs are very different. How many law schools have creches? How many law schools have facilitated gender transcending kind of roles? Do they always feel sports should be headed by a man? That certain leadership roles, deanship, etc., should go to a man? How many of us are prepared to be critiquing? So how cemented are these self-identities of women? In National Judicial Academy, I had a very bad experience. I was doing a stereotypal analysis, and many women judges who are newly appointed, they wrote, male means powerful. I asked, aren't you powerful? They said, male means dominant. Aren't you dominant? Can't you be dominant? They didn't have an answer. Male means Rama, woman means Sita, these kinds of stereotypes, you know. This is because we never had alternative self-identities coming across. We have never critically engaged with our own self-identity. So transcending culturally dominated self-definition should be the first training that we give to every woman law faculty. And in the leadership role, more and more what Catherine McKinnon calls consciousness raising critique in the training is required. Encourage every woman to take up new role. They say that women are technically disabled, and women means technologically disabled. They are not very comfortable with, and gadgets are always a male bastion. They spend a lot of money on that at the expense of ration for the house. So, I mean, this is one reason why women are also considered as welfareists. I mean, I have seen in women panchayat leaders whom I train, that a woman panchayat president would always think about water. She would think about school, whereas a male panchayat leader will think about a big auditorium, which is showbazi, you know. So I have seen these policy priorities, increased corruption, no corruption, etc. So building a cooperative environment, what Posh also talks about, a gender-friendly ecosystem, and creating female-centric role models, and those role models giving positive outlook about women in a law school also is very important in the legal education context. Now with that, I would say that women need to be engaged at all levels. Universities should consistently and consciously aim at putting women on the roles that they deserve in the higher leadership, at least pro-vice chancellorship. That becomes a very good mentoring ground for vice chancellorship. And merit with inclusion and objectivity. Simply don't go by who looks good and who is liked. Don't go by that. Go by merit and objectivity and inclusion. If somebody has this middle-age crisis, and if they have merit, don't throw them out because they took a 2-year gap for maternity or for family reasons. We need to have such flexible policies which do not compromise merit just because of gendered socio-cultural blocks or impeding factors. And universities need to set this EDI, equity, diversity, inclusion target for leaders. So measure the performance of the vice chancellor, like how, you know, when you are going for a share market, the initial public offering, the question asked is, what is the share of women participation? Every company becomes alert. Now, do we have that in educational system? In education and in judiciary and in legal profession, we think as if we are already born with justice and we are born with 100% fairness on education and human resource management. We need to look inward and critically evaluate our system to see that more and more women play a significant role. Their role is acknowledged and not taken for granted. Our experiences are narrated and documented, and that tomorrow we lead it, because as Ken Bo said, please watch in the YouTube that let women lead the world, and there will be less wars and there will be more happiness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was indeed very motivating for us to listen to you. And very rightly through statistics, you had pointed out women's position into leadership, into higher education, also the advantages of female leadership in education, barriers. So one of the learnings what I take from this is that it is women who should know their own potential and capabilities first, so that they can be more progressive in their lives. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving us this time.
Now I humbly request Namita ma'am to please share her journey, and we would be glad to hear.
Thank you. A very good morning to everyone in the panel, my respected seniors, Professor Nuzhat Parveen Khan ma'am, Professor Shashikala Gurpur ma'am, and Professor Lakshmi, Dr. Devrata Haldar, all the faculty, students, and all the participants in this session. It was so wonderful so thrilling to hear from the experiences and from the personal experience and journey of Professor Nuzhat ma'am, and also the statistical analysis which has been shared by Professor Shashikala Gurpur ma'am as to what are the challenges. So I will be speaking, I will not be sharing any as such presentation, but I will be speaking on majorly 5 points. That first of all, a very brief analysis, quick analysis of what all is required to be a leader. And then moving on further to how leadership varies between men and women. How, when men is there on the leadership position, what are the advantages and what are the challenges? And when the women is there, so there are certain advantages which women have as a leader, which I have felt in a very small tenure of mine as a dean acting since last 1 year. Then I would like to speak further about what all is required in academics to be a leader. What are the four core areas in academics, in higher education, which has to be mastered and excelled by anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, to be a leader. And then when women is there as a leader, or she wants to be there as a leader in higher academia, then what are the challenges she really faces? So many of the things are already covered by my seniors, but I'll try to speak on something different. Well, we all know that when we talk about leadership, there are certain prerequisites which are there. Number one, professional knowledge and professional competency. So anybody who is a leader, men or women, you have to have that professional knowledge and professional competency. Then physical and moral courage. Then any leader has to lead from the front. You have to go out and you have to take the lead. Then only you can lead the team. So when we talk about teamwork, one has to be there in the team and then drive it from the front. So that's there. Then ability to take decision. And then further, once we have taken a decision, whatever comes after the decision, whatever are the outcomes, you have to take the full responsibility of it. That's another trait which is required to be a leader. Then expecting loyalty and giving loyalty. A leader should be loyal. If I am heading my department, I have to be loyal to my faculty. I have to be to build that trust with my faculty, and it has to be vice versa as well. So that is the next thing which I feel is required. Then I believe, this is my personal belief, although few of you might disagree to that, then I think a leader also has to be empathetic. You have to be empathetic. And I think when it comes to women are more empathetic as compared to men. So I see that as a very positive trait, as an advantage which women have. Then value of time. I remember one of the session in which my senior Nuzhat ma'am was also sharing that when she used to be there in the corridor, just being on time and seeing that how whether the faculty is there in the class, everybody will start taking classes on time because they know that ma'am is on ground. So if the leader is punctual, the entire team will automatically become punctual. Then character. Then management of man and resources, because when you're sitting on the chair, that is what you're doing, managing things as and when it is required. And then holistically creating an atmosphere where the best of the resources can be utilized for the sake of all the stakeholders who are involved. So these are few very basic traits which are required in a leader. Now, if I talk about how leadership varies between men and women, then I think the first reason comes because the way in which the men and women are being brought up, the societal and the social construct, which has been discussed by Nuzhat ma'am also and by Professor Gurpur ma'am also, that it's very different. The way, the kind of opportunities men get and women get, that they varies because of the society, because of the culture, because of the gender, because of the background from where they're coming from. So that one difference is there. Now that difference at times create a lot of hurdles, lots of barriers. Because of which we see that many times women are not able to do many of the things like networking and not even giving, not sitting with men also, as Gurpur ma'am has also discussed, that they don't get many times, academic leaders find it difficult when it's a women to, to stay out and with giving parties and being in clubs with the men. So those issues are always there. So first difference I feel is that when it comes to social, emotional and physical challenges, they vary between men and women. Men do not have those challenges which women have. When it comes to biological challenges, as discussed by others also, the reproductive cycle, the gaps which women have to face during childbirth, the gap which women, or the issues, the physical issues which women face when they are going through menopause also. I have few of my faculties who are almost around 45, and they tell me at times that, ma'am, today I'm menstruating heavily, I'm bleeding heavily, I wish to go home. Can I do that? Now, being a women leader, maybe I understand it, and they are free to speak about that to me. Maybe if it would have been a man, they might not have disclosed the entire situation. But now I know that they want to go back home because this is what they are facing. So I think this is one. Then emotionally also, if you see emotionally, women are more sensitive. I mean, and it is not something which should be taken as a negative way. It is, if it is being considered, and I think it is something which makes women more empathetic also. So there are certain challenges. Then definitely at the beginning, at the time when you are making your career, the biological clock and the professional clock is tickling at the same time. I think this is one biggest challenge for any women. Even in her initial career, leave apart the leadership position. This I can say from my personal experience, because if I very brief, I tell you, I started my career and my entire education post marriage and post children. I was 22 when I got married. I did my LLB post marriage. Then I had my first child. Then I had a 2 years break. Then I had completed my LLM. Then after my childbirth and all that, then I started started my career. Then PhD. Everything post marriage, post children. So the entire career, entire profession has started post marriage. So because both the things were clicking, both clocks were moving at the same time. Now, this is here. If you see this, one thing is for sure, you cannot have it all at the perfect time. There cannot be a perfect time or a very fixed time for women to lead up to a position. Those who start late, they will surely get some break if they are on a family way, if they are in a family way or something like that. If they are already in the family way, if they're already married, they'll surely start late. So somehow the career graph, the entire progression of women's career may vary as compared to men. And that is something which most of us know. But again, I would agree to the views of my panelists here in this panel, that the gaps, if there are any gaps, then all the bodies who are there on the interview panel, they must recognize and appreciate, and they must not make it an issue. That gap must not be made an issue. So that point is again, I think it's there, which has to be noted down. Then if I see men as leaders, there are certain advantages which they have. Definitely, they have societal support and acceptance. They are more practical and focused. Why they are more practical and focused? Because they are not doing micromanagement. They are not going back home doing home chores or taking care of children. Because most of us are still in a society where women is taking care of the home. At least to people of my generation who are almost 40. So I don't see my husband or my brothers taking care of home. It is me whose primary responsibility is to take care of my even kids' studies. So they're more focused. They can go back home. They can work. Now, if I'm working here from 9 to 5, when I go back home, I have to, maybe even if I don't have to cook, I have to take care of some certain other things, maybe the kids' studies. So the kind of the career graph which is required to be an academic leader, where you need to perform on all 4 fronts. I'll come to all four fronts of academia. At times, women are lacking behind on those areas. Then better at macro management. Men are better at macro management and better at networking. Why? Again, because of the societal reason that nobody asks them, okay, whom are you talking to? Who's the person who has called you? You know, so they can anytime they can speak to people, they can go out. So they can do more of networking as compared to women. If we talk about limitations of men as a leader, they lack emotional connect or sensitivity. At times, I think they lack it because you will only understand the pain at times when you have gone through that pain. So if a man has not gone through what happens to a woman when she's bleeding, when she's suffering from a problem, gynae issue, I think, they might not understand those kind of things. Then because they don't do micromanagement, I think the men are less organized. And that becomes an advantage for the women, that women are better organizers and better at micromanagement. Even if any event is being organized, they can take care of many things on their own, from small needle to anything. So micromanagement is again, it's an advantage for any women leader. Then if it comes to sincerity also, I think women are more sincere. I'm a mother of 2 kids, 2 boys. And then I'm telling you that I'm sharing that girls are more sincere as compared to boys. So we even have to realize our own expertise or our own skills or our own plus points. Then only we can grow up. Then another advantage which I felt here personally since last 1 year is that laws are not against women at workplace to some extent. If there's a man who's sitting on a chair and he wants something to be done, he has to be very professional in his language. He cannot say, please, baby, you do it. Being a female leader, I say anything. I can be little, flaunting way. I can say that, please, baby, thank you so much, you did it. I can give a smile. I can be a little more, But when it comes to male, he never knows that when any kind of a compliment will turn into a sexual harassment case. And this is why I think most of the leaders who are there on the chair, they feel that it's easier for women to lead because they don't have that kind of a fear. So I think all the women who are looking up to be a leader, this is one advantage as of now, that our sexual harassment laws they are not gender neutral. They are gender specific, and to some extent, I'm not saying that you do something else, but then yes, you don't have to have that fear. Then definitely they can display better sensitivity and empathy. Now, as an academic leader, what I have felt that there are certain areas where, since women understand the issues, leaders understand the gender specific issues, they can pitch in their institutions for certain things which are required, like crèche, for better toilets, as ma'am has also pointed out, certain short leaves also, and to attend and to cater to personal requirements of women, in general, wherever it is required. So certain things they can definitely explore. Now, if you want to, whenever we get into academics, initially when we thought of, I think me or you or anybody would have thought of getting into academics, we would have thought of one thing, that was teaching, because academics was synonymous to teaching. Because in school, what we have done, what we've seen is that our teachers only usually do the teaching. So from a common man point of view, a professor, or even if a woman is a lecturer, they only understand that, okay, a woman my daughter-in-law is a teacher in a university. They don't understand that it is not only teaching, there are other aspects of higher education also which have to be equally taken care of. Now, if I come to the aspects of academy or higher education, there are 4 aspects. One is teaching, second is research, third is administration, and fourth is extension activities. If you think of when you want to grow further, every aspect has to be learned. The dynamics of all 4 areas have to be understood. If I take the first aspect, teaching, it is not only teaching, it includes many things: teaching, feedback, OB processes, because now only teachers not only go and just teach, they have to prepare the lesson plans, they have to upload their materials, they have to be well acquainted with the ERP, they have to be well acquainted with the OB processes, they have to be well acquainted with the feedback system. So the entire dynamics of academia, only teaching only they have to learn. That's one thing, teaching and then examination. Then moving on to administration. If you look into administration, it's not only administration of the just man resources, many other things, handling student issues, handling the internal complaint matters, or discipline issues, all things, what comes in administration, managing those things when a faculty doesn't come, how you're going to arrange the classes, how you're going to handle issues when a faculty wants a leave for a very general reason. But then you have to think from the student's point of view also, from your stakeholders' point of view also, that what if the faculty for any reason is not reporting, then how the students' interest will be balanced. So all that part of administration has to be mastered. Then if you look into research, in research, it's not only about writing research papers, it's about teaching, taking workshops of the faculty, of the students with respect to research and publication, and not only publication, research and publication ethics also. And then a great role is being played by the leaders when they give the opportunities to the faculties to explore these areas. I remember last year when I was here, and I was my dean that time, Professor Tabriz Ahmed sir, he told me that Professor Dr. Namita, you have to take research and publication ethics classes in PhD. I was so scared that, sir, how will I teach this subject? I've never taught this subject earlier. He said, no, I think aap kar lenge. You will be able to do it. So try it out. So that time I did not like it. I mean, I was little apprehensive that why sir is giving me this topic. I have no idea. And then teaching PhD central level was a very difficult task for me. But then, because as a leader, he has given me that opportunity, I've tried, given a lot of time, making PPTs and preparing presentation, but somehow I could build myself. I could at least start myself teaching that particular course. So this is how the leader plays a great role, that when you make people realize that you can do a little better, and then you make them come out of their comfort zone. I think, and the fourth is the extension activity. Now, extension activities in the sense that organizing everything, whether it is legal aid, conference, internship, placements, admissions, every other thing which is not exactly, coming, and then reaching out, consultancy, MOUs. So there are many, these are four aspects of higher education which has to be learned: teaching, administration, research, and extension activities. Now, the point is, can anybody learn all this, or is skilled enough to learn all this? I think all of us have to learn all this because that is the requirement of the profession in which we are. Number two, there are certain combinations which goes together, and there are certain combinations which never goes together. Like teaching and administration easily goes together. Teaching and research goes together, but administration and research, I believe, never goes together. It is a very difficult combination in that way. So as a person, as a professional, we might not be good at all fronts. A person could be good at teaching, and it is not necessary that a good teacher is also always a good researcher. Or a teacher or a person who's a good teacher and a good researcher will also become a good administrator. So I feel that as a faculty, because we all are here at the faculty, or the students of law as a faculty, those who wish to have a profession in academics, we all need to realize our skill set, our personality, how we are. Are we more inclined towards teaching? Or are we more inclined towards research work? If you like to speak more, if you have better communication skills, if you have better convincing skills, definitely you are better. You will perform better as a teacher. But if you are a person who can sit back, think, analyze, and write, then you can be better as a researcher. And when it comes to administration, then there you need a different skill set altogether. Sam, now that the way, this is one thing which has been said, that you have to get things done. It doesn't mean that you become inhuman to people. You have to make sure that you are rationally and in a very rational and in a very impartial manner giving work to your faculty. I would again like to draw this statement, this point from the discussion of my previous panel, is that there are certain roles which are being typecast, like the role that when you think of sports teacher, it is a male which comes to your mind. Similarly, when I joined here and I started working here as a dean, I saw that whenever it comes to anchoring, everybody used to say that give it to Pooja, give it to Ashmita, give it to XYZ girl. Nobody used to think that give it to Kalrav, give it to that. What is this? Why Kalrav can't do this? Why man at the faculty can't do it? Right? So I think we have to, in a way, think out of the box. We have to, in a way, ensure that in our practice also, we are not doing anything which is very, very gender specific, because ultimately, whether you are a male or a female, if you wanted to grow, you have to learn all the tricks of the trade. And you have to even learn the entire, all the aspects of the academia. You even have to learn how does the admission process works. You have to understand how the examination process works. If you want to be leader in academia, you have to, really soil your hands into understanding how internship and placement works, how legal aid works, how moot court works, how seminar and conferences are being organized, and how you will learn it. You will learn it only when you will do it. Whatever you will do in your life, you will always have that confidence. Because maybe I'm a product of hard work. I feel so that I'm a hardworking person. This is what I feel for myself, and I'm a product of being self-driven. So I feel that whatever you will do in your life by own, you will always have that confidence. If you wanted to be on academic chair, if you wanted to be in academic administration, learn to take up all the responsibilities, whatever is being given to you by your senior, and take up that challenge, learn the entire thing, how it is to be done, and then you will be able to drive it. Then only you'll be able to drive it. So this is how I feel is. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you so much. So over to to the organizer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your journey has definitely inspired, and we definitely can relate to a few of the things that you mentioned, that early you start, the better it is. And definitely the way you have highlighted that being emotional is not a disadvantage is a huge takeaway for a lot of us, because we have always been conditioned in a way that you have to be strong enough, you don't have to cry on small things and all of this thing. But very rarely a few people understand that being emotional is also a good thing. It's an advantage, and you have highlighted it in a very, very positive way. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, ma'am. I now move to the fourth panelist, Lakshmi ma'am. We invite you for having a brief discussion about your journey and how you have barriers you have faced as an academic leader.
Yes.
Lakshmi ma'am, am I audible?
Good morning, everyone. Now, hello?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Audible? Okay. So can I continue?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
good morning,
ma'am.
everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of today's panel discussion on the role of women. First, my congratulations to the Dean, Professor Evans, the laureate, me to
Ma'am, I think there's a
prestigious
technical
program.
glitch. We are not able to hear you, like there's a gap in between.
Switch off the video.
Yes, ma'am, definitely works.
No, I switched off the video now. So I said it's my privilege to be on panel with Professor Shashikala Gurpur, Professor Nusrat, Professor Namita Singh. And after listening to other panelists, I feel I'm left with very few things to speak. So I once, so you're not able to hear me? Somebody is writing.
No, ma'am, now
Yeah, okay. So
you are audible now.
Yeah. See, once I read that leadership is one of the most observed and least understood phenomena in the earth. So several research studies have been conducted to identify what qualities make an individual a leader. And they all concluded that a leader is someone who possesses credibility, on inspirational personality, knowledge, skills, the abilities and request experience to lead others, the eagerness to learn new things, adopt to changes, and so on and on. I concur. Academic leadership requires all these qualities too. However, academic leadership is different. It demands greater responsibility towards society at large. If a business leader fails, it will affect only his business. But if an academic leader fails, it will affect the society itself. That's why I said academic leadership is different. The academic sector, it is one of the most preferred sectors for women because of the lucrative work-life balance it offers. But if we closely examine the data which is available, it can be noted that the number of women climbing up the workplace ladder and holding academic leadership positions is very less. So they remain only in the middle ranking positions. The number of women becoming HODs, deans, directors, registrars, pro-vice chancellor, vice chancellor, those are very low. Academic leadership remains as an area dominated by men. See, recently I read an article co-authored and published by my friend Kakoli Sen, which is the pro-vice chancellor at IILM. So this article, it is titled Missing Women in Indian University Leadership, Barriers and Facilitators. It's a well-written article which analyzes the reasons for less number of women in academic leadership roles. So I would like to present some of the relevant statistics from that article. And as per the 2015 UGC report, in India, there are 725 recognized universities. And out of them, only 13 universities have ever had a female vice chancellor. It is 0.024% of the total. The irony is, out of these 13 universities, have 6 are women-only universities. And so in those universities, only women can become vice chancellor as per their articles. There are 73 institutes of national importance in India, which includes AIIMS, All India Institute of Medical Science, and IITs, Indian Institutes of Technology. They have rarely had any women in the leadership roles. Most major central universities have never had female vice chancellors. Jamia Millia Islamia University, it was established in 1920, but it had appointed its first ever female vice chancellor in 2019, nearly after 100 years of its establishment. So the paucity of women in academic leadership role is not a phenomena present only in India. It's a global issue. The prestigious University of Oxford got its first female vice chancellor in 2016. Professor Louise Richardson, she became the first female vice chancellor nearly after 800 years the university was established. So talking about my personal journey here, getting higher education itself was difficult for me. My family, a very small family, my father, mother, me, and an younger brother, born and brought up in Chennai, down south. So I completed my +2. And after +2, what has to be done? What are the courses to be done? I had no much idea about era. Information was not freely available. And coming back to home, beyond that, I had no idea at all. So what are the courses? Entrance exam for those courses? I had no idea about this. And my father was a busy man, so he requested my neighbor.
Ma'am, sorry to disturb.
And then I got admission. Yeah.
Ma'am, sorry to disturb. There's a lag between the video and audio. So probably.
So once I stop the video,
yes, it
if I
works
switch
well.
off the video,
It
okay.
works well.
So okay. So again, I continue with my personal journeys. I was talking about my family, a small family, beautiful family, one younger brother. And I said I completed my +2. I had no much idea about what to do next, and got into BSc Physics. I was doing my BSc Physics. I'm coming to the final year. My brother is completing his +2 now. Then I can see there's a huge difference there in which my parents are handling this. They are going gaga about his entrance exam, where he will take tuition for it, how he will get, which is the best university. Nothing happened for me. I completed my +2. My neighbor was requested to get application, but for my brother, my father is running around to colleges, finding out the best college. He got admission in engineering college, the best engineering college in Chennai. Then I started feeling bad about it. Why I'm not taking care of my parents, and now I should also do some professional course. And I started doing my research. Then I understood that after BSc, after graduation, the only option is law. I wanted to be in some professional course. I wanted to do law. Now, when I express this at home, I'm planning to do law. I want to write entrance exam for that. My parents said, they asked me, have I gone? And my parents laughed at it and said, if you even think about doing law, nobody is going to marry. Forget about all these things. And for them, they made it very clear that this 3 years period of time after +2 is only find out a suitable man for me, nothing more than that. A degree in the wedding card is sufficient. I was made very clear. Now I become more adamant. I want to do law. I have to do, he's doing a professional course. I have to do a professional exam. My parents did not care about it because they thought I will not clear the entrance exam. I cleared the entrance exam. Now the struggle started. They said nothing doing, even if our relatives come to know that you want to do law, nobody is going to marry you because everything is marriage. So they said nothing doing. If you are adamant about joining the law college, then you have to leave the house. I said, better I will leave the house. And I left the house because I have to pay the fees, because within the last day, if I don't pay the fees, I will lose my seat. So I went to a friend's house, borrowed money. I took admission in the law college. I joined the law course. And my parents were terribly upset with my behavior. And that too, when I got the courage to leave the house, borrow money and join law, they could not tolerate me absolutely. But after some time, I have to return to my house. Nobody will talk to me. It went on for some time. And then as my parents feared, there was no one to marry me. The moment they got to know that I'm studying law, they said, she'll be talking too much. We don't want her. So every day, my parents used to curse me like anything. What have you done to this family? Before joining this law, my father, my mother, they used to tell me, go do B.Ed, because if you do B.Ed, it's easy to get a teacher job. And my value in the marriage market will go up because I will earn also. But at the same time, I'll take care of the suitable thing for a girl to do. Finish B.Ed, will get a job, and it's easy to get married. And the amount of dowry to be given will also become less because I'll be earning also. So I started hating the teaching profession itself. So getting a legal education itself was a struggle for me. After a lot of protest and other thing, I completed law. And as my parents feared, my marriage became very difficult. And again, I had to run away, love marriage, because that was the only possible thing. So I ran away from the house. I got married, as Shashikala ma'am said, to a very nice person. And again, everybody blamed on my education because it is the legal education which spoiled me, which made me to take this kind of decision, which made me to become a rebel, which made me to talk too much about my rights, which spoiled my family's reputation, everything gone because of the legal education. So I came out of my house and my personal life, then we are successful in life. That's a different story. But what is bothering me is that this happened to me in 1990. It was in 1993. I'm joining law college. I completed everything fine. But then what is worrying or what is bothering me is that throughout my career as a law teacher, I have heard the same story from my students, many of my students. Last week, one girl came to me saying that her marriage is being arranged and she might have to drop out. And she says, I told her, can I talk to your parents? She said, if you talk to my parents, they will do it immediately. Please don't do that. So what is bothering me is that this has not come to an end. So the society thinks that this is what is suitable for a girl. This is not suitable for a girl. MBA means it's for a male. Engineering, it's for a male. And teaching profession, the profession where you can take care of the family, that is the profession suitable for you, because for the first priority for a girl, for a woman, is to take care of the family. What I feel is that, like broiler chickens are grown for meat, women are grown for marriage. Everything revolves around this marriage, taking care of the family, and every other thing is second. So I did my LLB and PhD after my marriage. Now my journey as an academic leader. So my academic career started with administrative responsibilities. I was appointed as a lecturer cum warden. I started my teaching career at Hidayatullah National Law University. And there the practice is only a lecturer can be a warden. So I got this dual post, lecturer cum warden. And I never hesitate to take responsibilities. So I was a faculty coordinator for many committees there, Moot Court Committee, Legal Aid Committee, MES Committee, you name, I mean, any committee I'll be there. One more reason is that I was the only lady faculty there. So your faculty, your female faculty representation should be there in every committee. So I was literally there in every committee. But that became a great learning experience for me. And in my professional career, I was always along with my husband. Wherever he moved, I moved along with him. But after a particular point of time, I felt that I cannot grow under my husband, because whatever I do, the credit goes only to him. Once I remember at Hidayatullah National Law University, I was teaching family law. And I had to set a question paper. I set a question paper, not from the book, the previous day, and made that as the question paper. The next day, all the appreciation went to him. People said that he must have set the question paper. Anything which is done by me, it is always said that it must be him who has done it. So slowly I started realizing that under him, I'm not going to grow. And I was most of the time, he was the dean. I was working under him. I had to report to him. Then I decided to move out. So I joined another university. And fortunately or unfortunately, after I joined that university, the dean of that law school, due to some personal reasons, he decided to move out. And being the senior most faculty there, I was made the dean in charge there. So that is how I got the first leadership role. But the university was looking for a dean. It was only a temporary arrangement. And there is a strange thing I noticed there. There was a peon there who used to take care of the Dean School of Law. I have seen his routine. Whenever morning the dean used to come, he'll be waiting for him, taking his bag, the room will be clean, the water will be kept there. He'll be so obedient to the dean. He'll take care of him. And then evening when he goes, he'll be following him to the car and bag is kept there. I have seen this routine. I have seen the other faculty members, how they are behaving with the male dean. Because this is the first time I'm working under somebody else. I have noticed all these things. Then I'm occupying that chair. Now the peon become my protector. He started telling me how should I behave, how should I handle the students, what I should do. So I can clearly see the difference in the treatment. I can clearly see that they are not able to see a woman as a leader because they are used to a male leader. Then a small thing happened there. The attendance rules were not strictly followed there. And once I insisted that without 70% attendance, nobody will go for the exam, I debarred the students. The students, the teachers want me, everybody want me that you don't know about the students, they will go on protest. And in a private university, cannot teach the students. They all want me, teachers, everybody want. I said, nothing doing, I'm enforcing it. And I debarred the students. I said, I'm not allowing students below 70% to write the exam. As expected, protest happened. The protest not only in the law school, the management school, and I have not seen those students in my law school. There's a huge number of students shouting slogans saying that the attendance rule cannot be implemented. I spoke to my administration. Can I be strict with the students? They said, go ahead if you have the confidence. I called the bouncers, I controlled, and I made it as a rule that 70% attendance rule will be followed. The university stopped looking for a dean and they appointed me as the dean. That is how my leadership role, academic leadership role started, then moving to various private universities. And finally, here I am at Karnavati University as dean. This is all about me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your journey. I think it's more than inspirational. I must say we are so much inspired by your journey that every day we do face a lot of hardships and we do face a lot of struggles. But you have made us realize that we can overcome it with a lot of confidence and efforts. Everything is possible. So thank you so much, ma'am. And I'm sure even in 2000, we have a lot of people, females, who are struggling to the same thing, that if you have done law, you would be categorized as zyada bolti hai ladki, ya not marriageable person. So I think more than that, we would be inspired by the fact that we can overcome this barrier in our lives and we can become something who can be looked upon as a leader, as academic leader. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your sharing your journey. I think all our panelists have covered everything possible under the sky on this topic. I open the floor for the students to ask the questions, if any. You can put across the questions in the chat box. We would be very brief. So, ma'am, there's a question that how is the role of female in academics different from male? If any of the panelists would want to discuss upon this. I think we have covered it briefly, but then if anyone wants to cover.
The role is not different. It's just the struggle to perform that role is different. The impact is very different and very constructive, which has not been documented well. And even playing the role is difficult because opportunities rarely come their way, by chance, by default, or sometimes, I mean, many a times by merit, but to prove you have to be at least twice better than the man. Barkadat once said that you have to work twice as hard as your male counterpart to prove yourself. And then there are cultural and social barriers as well, as we discussed. So this is how we need to understand the difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question, which is posed by a student, is most of the people think that decisions of women are emotionally taken. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree that decision of women are emotionally taken, but I do agree partially that they are emotionally more intelligent than men. That is why they're transformational and inclusive. And today's research shows that EQ is more important than IQ for the progress of the organization to avoid conflicts and to manage peace, thereby increase productivity. Therefore, emotion is a strength. It was already highlighted by Nuzhat ma'am as well as other panelists. So there is an element of emotion. As I already told you, they follow emotional cues faster and better than men. Men may completely ignore also, but some men who are trained may be trained. That is why we need academic staff training college for law schools. We don't have, we do it in the generic one, and law schools get excluded there also because we always create our own little splendid isolation like the US foreign policy. So we need to have these kinds of attributes in men also. Then only there will be appreciation of women. There are many traits which we have are not mainstreamed, therefore ignored, or they are considered as unimportant. So we need to, I always say, we need to incorporate these criteria by proper audit mechanism. Then only one will appreciate the power of emotions in shaping law schools in a positive way or any organization. So I partially agree with the truth that women's decisions are emotionally taken. I don't see it as negative, but as positive and as a value to be incorporated in general decision-making science. And secondly, these emotional factors within data-driven decision-making need to be studied scientifically and derived into a mechanism of leadership training. Thank you.
Can I carry forward where ma'am have left? Yeah, Professor
Yes,
Sasi
ma'am.
very right to say. Because I had something to speak, but I just shared my experiences. Anyways, but while I have the similar type of experiences while it was Professor, Sasikala was speaking and she's talking about factors, and which are been the barriers or the different advantages of the women leadership. So when talking about they are more emotional about taking decisions. So in a way, if at times, even if they are emotional, that goes in favor of certain people who are at the workplace. Like, for example, the way women work. Somebody also talked about the time management and the micromanagement at the workplace. So we do, in fact, and also lastly, while Professor Lakshmi was talking, she was talking about it's very difficult for the male, colleagues, male counterparts, male subordinate to accept a woman as their boss, as their leader, and being in that highest position. So that is to be tackled in a very, very delicate manner. Like, for example, I experienced, which I hope I have already shared with Namita sometime, that I directly used to go to the classroom because it would have been very offended for my colleague, fellow professors, if I directly asked them why your class didn't happen today and your class was found empty. So rather than saying this, my chamber was on 2nd floor and the classrooms used to start from 4th floor. I used to go on that 4th floor, so directly from the lift and just go around without saying anything. But somebody who was not there coming running and herself or himself excusing, ma'am, it was due to some traffic. I said, okay, no problem, go to the class. But that, in slowly, gradually, that resulted into people being in time and feeling that ma'am will be there. Similarly, with regard to my administrative staff, my PA, my, clerks and assistant registrar, their habit was coming very late by 11 a.m. Maybe because, I will not name the person, but my previous boss generally used to reach by 11:30. And I was very particular about time. I used to reach much before even when the classes were started, which were about 9:15. I used to be there in faculty by 9. So initially, they were not there. But if they were not there, they know I have seen. But that time because saying something, screaming could have been getting enmity with them, and that could have been very detrimental to my future, tenure. So I just don't used to say anything. They themselves used to come saying sorry, giving some excuses, and of course, slowly, gradually being on time. But while they were working and on time, and at times again, women's working, style is a little different. I was emotional with my peons. I was always asking, how's your wife? How's your sister? She was ill. Have you gone to the medicine? Did something. So they used to like that. Also, the lunch break. It is a very dangerous time in the institutes, hampering their work. And which I noticed, everybody start going from quarter to 1, lunch. And then coming back, They never used to come by 2:30 or 2 p.m. So very late. So what I started, I generally said, not all the people will go for lunch, because for me also, if I used to go for lunch or I, in my chamber, people keep on coming. So it was on. I said some people will stay, or there will be some type of rotation of lunch. And whenever there were some meetings, some work, some syllabus revision, something which, we have to do. So people were making it a 3-4 day affair, to which I just clubbed it. I'll provide some working lunch here, but we'll keep on working during lunch, and 5:30 everybody will be free. Because again, I mean, I'm not saying anything against my male colleagues, but they have that type of freedom. They can be there in the office by 7:30. Women have to do many chores at the house place and then come again the next day. So I used to complete many work during the day by making some peon or clerk. Let's have some working lunch, but keep on. But those 1.5 hours used to convert in the next 2 days' work, because coming back again, opening the work by 5, there was no work actually. So all this, and then being a little emotional with them, also helped me to work more efficiently, more smoothly. And then many of, regarding barriers which were coming, saying a woman is not able to run. What Professor Lakshmi said, this protest thing, and I understand there was lots of politics in that students are protesting attendance or for many other things, but it was more than the students. Some people were inciting them. There are things which have been faced, because actually in my proper lecture, which I missed on, I want to cover the journey from how, from all this, imbalance with regard to beginning from patriarchy and today's gender equality, which we are talking. And even if, we are actually acquiring, of course, it is happening slowly and gradually. We have seen women today who are even, running the country. Many countries have been run by the women. There are very many big, on the global scene, if we look at, internationally recognized women leaders are there. We can name many countries, including India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, and even Bangladesh, and then countries like Australia, Germany, Brazil, and many more countries which have been, UK, they have, queens who have been very gracefully shown the exemplary statecraft. Then organizations, whether we look across the world, they have been, but it is happening slowly and gradually, whether it is Oxford, Manchester, or Ivy League universities, or in news channels, we see many of the women, newspapers and Post, the Washington Post, New York Times, we see they've been headed by the women. Banks have been headed by the women, many organizations. So when it comes to the educational institutions, in 21st century, we've seen a little gradual reduction in the gender inequalities, especially in the academic profession. And then academic professions, leadership, academic professions, higher positions. In the higher education, we have seen there is lots of emphasis on the research, innovative, and development. And whereby I have noticed, and all of us have noticed, women have been, they are doing much better. They are the best actually, and that has been recognized also, and that need to be further recognized. To this, in fact, I will contextualize even for the society that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, we used to say we educate a family, but I'll say you educate a nation. And this maxim actually some of the benefit of educating a woman. But despite, that journey of even Sasikala ma'am was saying, at our times, there used to be very few girls. And I said, and the same may be the story of others. Today, there's a large number of girls. But again, when it comes to their joining profession, then Professor Lakshmi's thing comes. After their education, it is marriage, which comes first. So again, when it comes to the real work front, the number is reduced. The number is not that quantum, how much they have now become. But I am again being very optimistic. I feel that today we see Professor Sasikala ma'am have shown, I'm summing up the whole thing. She has shown a graph of chancellors, vice chancellors, and women in other positions. Of course, dean were not reflected there, but today we see lots of deans are there. Delhi University dean is right now Professor Usha Tandon. In past also, we have seen Ved Kumari ma'am, and we have seen in many universities, in NLUs, we see lots of women who are vice chancellors or head. In central and government universities, there are women are vice chancellors, administrative heads, they're provosts, they are in the, so again, that happens slowly and gradually. Earlier, when there were less women in the education, they used to be very few and then again remain in lower positions. But now there are a little more. And again, going to the history, Savitri Bai Phule was the first woman teacher, and she was a modern feminist. They've been awarded by the English government even for their contribution to the education. Hansa Mehta, she became the first vice chancellor, and today I think many of the people have already named. There are lots of vice chancellors, so the journey is happening. It's optimistic, and women's qualities, be it her education, emotional quotient, or be it their academic quotient, everything is, or as Namita said, they should be empathetic, they should be loyal to their work, and that is there. So all these qualities, all these, statesmanship, this is helping, and women are there. There will be many more. Even if some audit is done, some data is recorded, it is going on to go higher. It is not going on to come in future. So women can bring very important change. The only thing is we need to create a culture that is more equitable for women, and it should be fairer to all. So the many questions that the students are asking will be taken up, but they need to understand the circumstances, how the whole scenario has grown and evolved from time to time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We are short of time, so actually we would not be able to take up other questions as we have to end at 12:30. But yes, I would request Devarti ma'am to please deliver the vote of thanks. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Just at the right moment when I was listening to Dr. Nusrat, Professor Nusrat, somehow my laptop connection went off. And I always love to hear Professor Khan because I have been associated with Professor Khan's work for a long time. I remember the NCW meet, that was for the first time, and Professor Khan, you may also remember, there was Facebook also who was represented, which was represented by a female, representative. She's no more in Facebook now, what we understand. But what we do understand from the entire panel discussion today, as Professor Khan has given a very clear understanding about, what women are, from any background they are coming, what sort of challenges they are facing. It is till today, I'm telling, even our next generation are also facing the same thing. So I completely agree with Professor Khan about whatever she has narrated, whatever she has stated about the challenges and how the women are contributing towards the understanding, towards the development of women's participation in growth, as well as for women's participation, especially in legal education. I must also tell about Dr. Shashikala Gurpur Madam. If Dr. Shashikala Gurpur Madam, you are here, because in my screen I'm not able to see. Madam, you are a powerhouse, I must say. That whenever I listen to Dr. Shashikala Gurpur Madam, I always remember about what I have also gone through. And I think that every one of us have gone through. When I was studying law way back in 1990s, by the end of 1990s, I was doing my UG. During that time, my father was also told so many times, being an IPS officer, being from the family of bureaucrats, my father was always told that why are you sending your daughter for studying 5 years law course? Why not 3 years, and then you can go ahead, because ultimately she has to get married. And my parents were very much adamant that no, she will be doing law. And thanks to my parents also, today I am in a position to actually analyze not only my situation, but also analyze many other women's situation, that why they are going through or why they are undergoing such things. But again, when I heard about Shashikala Madam's presentation, especially that why there are not much female deans, why there are what are the challenges that the vice chancellors, pro vice chancellors, and also the deans, basically women deans, they face. I can very clearly relate to it because in my previous institutions also I have seen that when I used to be the in charge dean. But there were a lot of people, especially males, who would be guiding me that, now you do this, now you do that. And many people even used to come in front of me. I mean, literally, I'm telling that physically, I would not be able to see the vice chancellor or the chairperson because these persons will be shielding me to tell that madam will be doing this, don't worry. But madam will not do this because madam has got a brain in her head and everybody will forget that. And I think that this is the thing that everybody, every one of you madams, you actually have portrayed it in a very beautiful manner. Professor Namita Malik, madam, Professor Namita Singh Malik, madam, you are very, very correct in understanding how women may lead to set or to break the bias, gender bias. That is what that Women's Month we call it. That this standard has been stated that gender like break the bias. Absolutely correct, madam. I'm also agreeing with you because if we women do not take up the leadership, I know that there are several other men and women who will be pulling us back. That do not go there. I have seen this very clearly that even in many departments of law colleges also, there are people, especially there are male colleagues of us, again with due respect to all our male colleagues, they will be giving a kind of body language, they will be giving a kind of attitude that you become the dean, you become the vice chancellor also. We are not going to listen to you. And that becomes the challenge that what Professor Nusrat Khan, Professor Sashikala madam, Professor Namita madam, and also Professor Lakshmi madam also very clearly stated. Finally, I will come to Professor Lakshmi madam. I have interacted with Professor Lakshmi madam also. Personally, also I have seen. Absolutely correct, madam, because many times we do get to see that if we are working with or under the shadow of our male guardians, maybe it is father, maybe it is husbands, maybe it is sons also, you are never going to get recognition that for the work that you are doing. And that is the reason that when we stand apart, it is not our colleagues, not our family members, but others are basically going to target that, इनका तो इन्हीं ने लिख दिया, इनका तो इन्हीं ने काम कर दिया है. And while I was listening to Professor Lakshmi's session, I was remembering for the past 2 days I was not in station. Yesterday when I boarded the flight, I was just going through this newspaper clippings. It may be a 2 or 3 day old, but I was actually going through the clippings where you have very clearly and all of you have very clearly and correctly reflected that female counselors, their husbands are doing and they are not doing their work. So whoever are taking the decision, it is not the female centric or it is not the the decisions that are coming out from a feministic approach, but it is actually coming from a male, and that too the person is telling that yes, this is the correct thing that a female should take the decision about. I think that this is what we can basically change if people like you take up the leadership, especially for the law education, legal education, etc. And we can empower our girls, we can empower our women to basically represent not only women but also males, who have been abused or who are actually looking into or facing challenges, etc. To be very frank, that when I personally, I have done lots of research, and again, I'm telling that I am a researcher. Again, further, personally, I've done lots of researches. There is no end of harassment to women. There is no end of challenges that are being faced by women. And I think that this is something which is it will never have any end at all. But what we are actually looking for is that to bring down the percentage, like all of you have mentioned about this, to bring down that percentage of harassment, to bring down the percentage of challenge. And I think that today's discussion basically indicates that. I'm very fortunate to be in a university which is in the name of the daughter of a person. It was not in the name of son or some god, goddesses, etc. It is in the name of a human being, and I'm very proud to say it's a female. So that way also we are being empowered to understand that yes, the private universities or even the public universities, they are acknowledging the role and contribution of women, even though it is going in a very slow pace. Even if you say that yes, it is happening, I completely understand it is going in a very slow pace. If it was going in a proper pace, then neither of any one of you would be saying that we do have challenges, and neither are people like us, we would accept that yes, we have to overcome these challenges. So anyway, it was really I was just putting it in the Facebook because I was listening to all of you. I was putting it in this fashion that I'm in a powerhouse. I'm feeling like I'm in a powerhouse. Thank you so much, madams, on behalf of Parul Institute of Law and also Parul University to agree and also accept our invitation and give us this valuable information and also empower us and also encourage us to be like all of you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, for taking out time for us. Thank you, and thank you, Ambika Batas, for being such a good co-coordinator. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining in. It was an honor for us to host you.
Thank you.
Same
It was
here.
wonderful
Thank you for this wonderful
you,
workshop.
Shashikala ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
ma'am. Thank you, everyone,
Bye.
and particularly Lakshmi and Nizar. Thank you. Nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we can end the meeting.
Sir, we are through. We can end the meeting.
Yeah.